All right, guys, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian Fromhertz, Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Monday, May 7th. And so this is your market and option recap. S&P finished up 34, or SPYs finished up 34 basis points. Qs were the outperformer today. They finished up almost a percent, backed off the highs, which we'll talk about that. IWM also pretty strong today, finished up almost 1%. In terms of sectors, you had a couple of reversals on the day. Energy names, which were the best performers basically till about 2 o'clock today, backed off pretty hard on the move in crude. I'll go over that chart in a minute. So they gave up and reversed for the day. They still finished in the green, but a lot of names actually either went to either to basically flat or the day or to actually completely reversed. So what did finish well? The Chinese internet names, they were up 2.1%. I'll talk about trade that we put on today. Also, so there was some very good participation, other than of course the energy names giving it back, but solar names did well today. Aerospace and defense, which I put on a trade on Friday in that name, so happy to see that up well over a percent for the day. Also, U.S. internet names did pretty well. Software names in the tech space did very well. Biotech also finished up over 1%. So we got pretty good participation for the day, despite that kind of end of day giveaway in terms of reversals. So also some pretty good, some interesting volume that went up in European financials as well as European ETFs, which have seen outflows. Outflows have now seen, or sorry, European ETFs have now seen outflows 10 weeks in a row, and it kind of looks the same way. There's a big block of EUFN. You can see this ETF normally trades about 1 million shares a day, traded 6.7 million shares. I think they took more off there. A few other ETFs, Germany, I think there was a rotation out of the France ETF and into Germany. Both of those seeing a lot of volume, but again, different to see a lot of volume in cash in international ETFs. So I'll summarize that in the next couple of days once I kind of pour through the inflows and outflows. That will confirm whether people were buying or selling. But you could see a lot of volume in these particular names. Again, short-term bond ETFs also continuing to see a lot of volume. VGSH, SCHO, SHY. All these names continue to be on the top of the leaderboard in terms of unusual volume that we've seen. Also, VWO, which is another international ETF that's emerging markets, also saw heavy volume today. Normally trades about 12 million shares, traded 23. By the looks of it, it looks to be selling. So we'll see by the performance, but we'll go through that. So yeah, so S&P, we were looking like we were making some progress, getting above the downward trend line, but not yet. We're butting up against it. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I can't really say much. I'm not going to go into many more details about that, but certainly we gave back. S&P futures only finished up 25 basis points, which is I think right where we opened. And I'll wait for this chart to come up just for a second. But yeah, I mean a decent give back. Yeah, you could see we actually fell into the value area, and we managed to claw back a little bit. So yeah, basically right where we opened for the day. So we gave back that gain. Interesting that where we did see this gain, where we did see the slide was right on the high of the day. So right when we were actually turning the corner and starting to really break out for the day. Some sellers really kind of kept us in check. Now, of course, around that same time, it's funny that there was like a coincidence with that, but around the same time, that's when there was an announcement that at 2 o'clock tomorrow, Trump will be announcing the Iran deal, which also was the big catalyst for oil. So I mentioned I will look at the oil chart. We'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll talk about what we did today in the trading room, what the strategy was for today, and the amount of option activity. Yeah, you can see oil is actually coming back here a little bit, but big slide right around the close of the pit. So was well over $70 and climbing throughout the session. Looks like we are climbing now back to 70, but we hit all the way 69.50. So what does this look like on a daily chart? It's going to look pretty ugly. So let's see. Thinkorswim just is very slow right now. But yeah, you can see it looks like a very toppy looking candle. Very difficult when you make a 52-week high and when you start to break out and then you give back all the gains. So that looks very toppy to me. We'll see what tomorrow. If we happen to hold in here, it might be positive. But we did see a lot of put buying going up in USO at the end of the day. Look at the XOP chart. We did take out that VPOC up at 41 bucks. I would say that's closest to. And you see a reversion right then and there. So again, a very ominous looking candle in energy stocks for the day. Looked like they were charging higher all the way to $41 and gave it all back to finish. Still up 60 basis points, but I think they were up about 3% at one point today. All right, so that's the story there, and that was the best performer. So what did I do today? Mainly, it was a day for me to take profits. The game plan has been with this market is to really not chase the green days. Kind of take some money off the table on the green days. And even though there's today I think was probably the highest amount of or the highest quantity of trade tickets on the call side that we saw, like a aggressive option flow than what we've seen in the last 2 weeks. But I think it's just better not to really chase. I think you're going to get an opportunity here or there to kind of add to those names that may be on your watch list. So I didn't do very much. We saw Apple, nice Intel calls today. I think I don't have all the volume here for Intel. Microsoft, and then like a bunch of really short dated, kind of what I call just momentum, guys who are just buying weeklies because things are moving a bit. But there was a decent amount of Intel calls today. Not this order, that's the small put order, but there was some repeat calls, but again, mostly short dated stuff. You can see from what I'm pulling up here, not too quality flow. Microsoft was a little bit different. Some of this traded versus open interest, but 8,000 of the June 97.5 calls. So this was a $1.5 million trade. And then this one as well, the 92.5 calls. So some pretty quality flow. I think Microsoft, there are some headlines about they're working with Amazon a little bit, and there was a couple stories about on Microsoft. Did not finish on the highs either, but still, I think chart looks fine. We'll go through a couple more names. Citigroup actually saw a lot of calls as well. If you look at all the sweeps that we saw today in Citigroup, oops, got the wrong symbol. Apologies. Actually, I might have it up here because this is acting really slow. Yeah, here we go. 4,000 of the June 70 calls. These financials really just, the banks I think have just not been where the momentum has been in this market. Let me just zoom out. So, kind of a name that's been beaten up after good earnings, this Citigroup. So, call buyers coming into the name. What I like is the broker dealers. The broker dealer ETF, I think that's acting much better. So if you look at if you compare the two charts, XLF. So again, you don't necessarily need option activity to get into some of these stronger areas of the market. I do think the dip buying in Citigroup is pretty interesting. This is what XLF looks like. It's all the way down to the 200-day moving average. But look at IAI. Again, this is the broker dealer ETF. So more names like Morgan Stanley's in here. TD Ameritrade is in here, Interactive Brokers, E-Trade, much more healthier to me, and again finished up 1.3%. So I like this group a little bit better. I did not put on a trade in that yet, but a few other names to go through. Again, some of the stuff is pretty interesting, but it's all weekly stuff. Caterpillar was another name that saw repeat call buying, but all the Caterpillars are going up so they're more for day trades. For me, I'm not going to hold the trade that expires, an option position that expires in a week. As a swing trade. So it's kind of one of those names that, of course you could take a longer position and just say, hey, the momentum players are in there, but it's mainly really short dated stuff that's going on in that name. I mentioned Microsoft. A couple other names, we mentioned Citigroup already. Red Hat saw some calls in short pretty short dated, May 25th. I think Bread Hat is a little bit extended, but you kind of, keep this name in your back pocket and say, maybe come back to it on a dip. At this point, because I think some of these names are getting a little bit extended. These are names that we've been focusing on for the last couple weeks. These, I had this in the newsletter this weekend. Most of what we called out in the member newsletter, worked pretty well. Nvidia had a big day today. Intel did have a nice day as well. I talked about the defense names, which rallied pretty hard as well today. So we really had some nice looks. That we pointed at that were member setups for today, that we put out this weekend. So a lot of good gainers that we focused on, and I added a couple really small trades. I have no problem sharing with you what I added today. But like I said, today on these green days are more days for me to kind of manage existing positions, take some money off the table. I think Google, I put on a June, I bought a call spread and sold a put spread. And then I also took another shot at the Chinese internet ETF. Again, big day for this is the best performing group, but right at the 200-day moving average. So this all gets sent out in our private Twitter feed. This is a starter position for me. We've got a number of these names that are in this ETF that are reporting this week. JD reports tomorrow morning. I think WB also reports this week, and a couple other names. So you might get an opportunity. I'm leaving myself plenty of room. Again, starter position. If we come in and we kind of back and fill, have an inside day, that's probably where I'll look to put on a bigger of a position. But really, this group has been very troubled for a while, but very nice looking candle today on getting back over that 200-day moving average, which is what you want to see. And then having a stop price that's very close. So small trade started in that as well. All right, so that's today's recap. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening.